Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? I hope fantastically. Welcome to part 4 of Zen lessons that can help you become a better salesperson and a better professional, all around, better entrepreneur, better business owner, kind of whatever your role is. But thank you for joining me today. If you are live, join us live. And if you are on the recording, thanks for taking a few minutes to join us. I'm actually really excited about today's session. And we're going to talk about the topic that I purposefully, there we go, put later in the week, because I think it's the one that everybody thinks of first when they think of, kind of Zen or, Eastern philosophy or, whatever it might be, Buddhism, even, stuff like that. And that's mindfulness. And it's kind of a topic that has actually been gaining in reach and acceptance the last couple of years, right? So this has kind of been an easy way for people to broach kind of Eastern concepts, because while mindfulness definitely is not something that is solely in the realm of Zen or solely in the realm of kind of, again, Eastern psychology, it's definitely much more central to those ideas than in the West. And so I kind of wanted to start with some other topics this week, because again, it's sometimes just the stereotypical one. If I said to you Zen, my guess is a lot of your first thought is like some people, sitting in meditation, right? If you had to go find a stock image to put on your article about Zen, you'd probably find somebody in the lotus pose meditating, right? And while I don't think that mindfulness and meditation are the same thing, and we're going to talk about meditation a little bit, they're linked. There's actually something beyond just meditation that we need to look at as far as mindfulness, because mindfulness is actually what we're trying to move towards through practices and tools such as meditation. And mindfulness as a concept is pretty simple. We don't have to make it too complicated. It's paying attention. It's paying attention to the here and the now, right? It's paying attention to what's happening right now, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, but just being here. And in some ways, we could stop our session right now today and just be like, be mindful by paying attention to what's going on in your life and in your immediate situation, and boom, that's it. Have a great day. Now, it is very simple, but as we've often found, it's not just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, right, to do. And in fact, it's very hard. And I shared in one of our previous sessions that I love a lot of these concepts because I'm not good at them, and that's why they've been so powerful for me. This is definitely one where I struggle a ton, and there's a great image that was shared. They attributed to the Buddha saying it. But here's the thing, just as a side note, whenever somebody says the Buddha said this or the Buddha thought this, understand that they didn't write things down for 500 or 600 years after the Buddha lived. So whether or not we actually know, and the Buddha didn't write anything down. So whenever somebody says, well, the Buddha said this, we don't know that. Side note. But here, this is still one of a great story or a great metaphor. And it's used in a lot of practices outside of just Zen, but it's the idea of the monkey mind. And, the image that's painted is that our mind and our thoughts are like a tree with a bunch of monkeys in it. And they're running around and chattering each other and talking. And I mean, if you've ever gone to the zoo and just, that has kind of a monkey exhibit and just watched it, and half the reason why it's fun to watch is because there's just so much going on, right? There's a couple playing tag. There's one eating. There's one over there that's picking I don't know what, the lice off of another one, or just grooming them. And then, these two are arguing, and then something else happens. It's chaotic. that's kind of what our minds are like. And I am absolutely somebody who has an intense monkey mind. Like my brain goes 24/7 all the time, super fast. And I think I'd be that way normally, but then we're kind of in a time and place in life, or I should think in society, that magnifies that, even beyond what we're dealing with right now today, which I'll address in a moment. But just think about the access we have to information, the access we have to, and I don't even have my cell phone in here right now, but think about, like, we don't have to be bored ever, right? It's actually hard to be bored. My wife laughs, and this might be a little TMI, but I love taking baths. I love tubby time. And one of the reasons why is because that's where I read and that's where I think, because it makes me not do anything else. Like, I kind of need to make myself do that. Because if not, I'll be looking at, again, my phone or going online or, wanting to be engaged in something else instead of just pausing. So, and right now, if we think about the convergence of global pandemic and public health crisis, economic meltdown, and access to not only the internet and news, but also social media, and what we can say whatever we want. We can listen to people talk about it. It's maddening, and it's not, in my opinion, necessarily very helpful, right, or productive. So when we start thinking about how to, become more focused, how to become more engaged in the present moment, that's really where mindfulness, this idea of mindfulness, comes in. And I think there's some real benefits to putting some attention on paying attention, right? So we can talk about this. We can get pretty meta, right? But there's a couple things that I think make this worthwhile. Sue, thanks for throwing up the idea that your monkey mind has grown in both volume and speed these days. Yeah, right. This is a particular environment where it's compounding all of the positive, right? Because we can get information, we can be more informed more easily, but it's just easy to sit there in front of your phone, in front of your computer, and just binge completely unhelpful stuff, and it just feeds into this. So that's why I think it's in this time, it's worth actually putting some of our energy, maybe pulling ourselves away from social media and trying to improve our mindfulness skills. But going back to, like, why this is, I think, useful, it creates less stress. There's times where it's important to know what's happening in the world. It's important to get news. I would argue that it's not nearly as important as most of us think it is, right? Yes, right now in this specific moment, there are literally some health things that we need to know. There's things that are important, but just in the overall scheme of things, when things get back to whatever the new normal is going to be, I'm amazed at how many people read the newspaper, get all riled up about it, but then don't do anything. Like, something I tell some of my close friends about social media who want to, like, post their opinions, for example, on politics or whatever. I go, instead of posting, go do something, go actually get engaged. But just we get so stressed out, and stress, like, research has shown, it kills us. Your cortisol levels are not designed to be at a high level or, all the time. And we live with that for years. Bad stuff happens. So you're going to live longer, which is great. But you can have better relationships with people, personal and professional. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody who's not present? How did you like it? Right? Maybe your spouse, a child, a friend who's just not really there. Maybe they're in their phone and you're like, that's horrible. Yeah, nobody likes that. And by the way, nobody in your professional life does that. Have you ever gone and talked to a prospect and not really been there? It's crap, right? Nobody likes it. Have you ever had somebody try to sell you and not pay attention to you? It doesn't work. Right. So that gets to my other benefit, is that you're going to have better sales conversations, because not only will they like you more because you're paying attention, but you're going to be more effective. Most people will tell you in a sales conversation what they need from that conversation to move forward. Most people will tell you the problems they need to solve, what they need what information they need to have to be okay with moving to the next step. It's just, and man, I've coached and managed salespeople for over 20 years. I've seen this over and over again, like being in the third party in a sales conversation and just watching a salesperson over and over miss every signal that a prospect gives, right? So if we're mindful, we can actually pick up on that. This idea of active listening, you got to be present. I also think it helps you remember why you're doing what you're doing. Everybody likes the Simon Sinek videos and books about, you got to have the right why. And if people have the right why, they can do anyhow, that kind of stuff. I agree, but you got to remember what the why is. And so sometimes being mindful lets you connect the things you're doing on a day-to-day basis and a moment-to-moment basis with that longer term, with the longer term goals you have. And I also think that it just brings more satisfaction to life. Something that's popped up pretty commonly, I've seen it on LinkedIn and conversations, is the idea of gratitude. Right now, I think gratitude, again, always important, but it's really important right now. All that gratitude, if you really think about what gratitude is simply being mindful, paying attention to what's in your life already. Instead of going, oh, I wish I had this, it's going, wow, look at right in front of me, I have this. Oh, I wish I had, this new car, or I hit this sales goal, or I wish my business was doing this. Instead, it's going, well, this is what I have. And you know what? It's pretty good, right? I can be grateful for that. A lot of people don't even have that. And so these are all reasons why mindfulness is important. And I go through that not because I think I'm trying to sell you on it, but because the lack of mindfulness means that we don't even pay attention to why being mindful is important, which is all kinds of ironic. And really, the biggest thing I think about being mindful is the realization that you're actually not going to be mindful most of the time. And yes, we're in a place in history where we do have, obviously with the coronavirus pandemic going on, we've got a lot of information that's important, that's screaming for attention. There's a lot of emotion going on. But even before that, just humans in general, we're not wired for this. And to give you an idea, 2,500 years ago, when the Buddha was talking about the monkey mind, they didn't have Instagram and Facebook and cell phones, but it was still an issue, right? So this is not new. But, excuse me, oh, hold on a second here. Again, another side note, I just happened to look at myself in the screen and I realized what I'm really doing with all these LinkedIn Live series is just tracking for posterity the ongoing growing of my hair, because I haven't had a haircut for a long time. And I'm going to look back at these fondly when I don't have that much hair anymore and go, wow, I used to have these long flowing locks. That would also be crazy. Seriously, in the morning, my hair sticks straight up and I scare Liam sometimes, my son. He's just like, what's going on? Anyways, so go back to this idea of getting back to the mindfulness and going away from it. The way I would think about this is, imagine taking a car ride, a road trip. If I'm here in Chicago, if I was going to drive to St. Louis, if I was going to drive to New York, California, whatever, when, there's actually something I can do in those towns, get out of the car. You don't drive straight, right? You always go kind of zigzaggy around, right? You go where the road is. You don't go as, the crow flies, but you do eventually get there. And the trick is you always have to kind of come back, right? So you're going this way, well, yeah, I go back that way, this way, that way. There's a statistic I heard that when planes fly, about 80 to 90% of the time, they are actually off course because of the wind. So like they're going straight, but then, they get buffeted back and forth and they always have to go back to center to where they're aimed at. That's the same thing that you want to do here is you want to remember that, hey, you could be completely non-mindful and not focused. How do you go back? How do you go back to center? That's what we're really trying to do. And so I want to give you, as we finish up, 3 tools. So mindfulness, again, I don't think I had to convince anybody that this is valuable. And if I did, hopefully I have. But how do we do it? Like, what are the practical ways of making mindfulness a regular part of your day, of getting your attention back to the now, back to being focused? So here's a couple ideas. The first we talked about this at the beginning of the session, the idea of meditation, and sometimes it's a stereotype. Meditation, really, in a lot of these Eastern philosophies, was developed as a way to create mindfulness. It can be used for a number of other purposes as well, but a lot of it, and especially in Zen, is all about forcing yourself to be here now. And in Zen, Zen meditation is actually called Zazen. It's basically translate to sitting, like Dojin or Dogen. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's one of the original OG Japanese Zen masters. His whole thing was sit. Zen is sitting. Like if you are sitting and paying attention, that is the goal. And kind of being aware that is super hard to do, right? And so if you don't have a meditation practice, there's no judgment. I'm gonna give you some other things you can do too. But I do think meditation is really valuable. And it's about creating a regular practice around this. One of the biggest things, I've loved seeing all of the apps like Headspace, and I use Insight Timer. And honestly, Headspace has made my wife's life really difficult the last couple of weeks, which is ironic because it should be making her life easier. So I'm going to say use Insight Timer. But if you like Headspace and you've used it, that's great. You don't even need an app. Like literally, if you just have a timer and just sit down for a little bit, that's great. But do it regularly and do it for a couple minutes. And so even if it's just once a day, sitting down for 2 minutes, trust me, sitting down for a couple minutes, if you haven't done meditation a lot, is really hard. Not that it's a competition or anything, but you just got to get yourself to do it. The reason why I say do it regularly, because people who do are like, oh, I tried meditation once. Dude, if you try it once, you're not going to get any benefit. Twice, nope. It's got to be something that it's like going to the gym, right? And so in some ways, if you want to think about it, it's kind of like a workout regimen for your mind and spirit. Right. And just like if you were like, I want to run a marathon, but I tried running once, I didn't like it, so I stopped. In the same way, you've got to be willing to commit a little bit. Even if your meditation right now is just breathing, right? So you know what, heck, I'm running this. And if you don't like this, you can stop watching. We're going to breathe for, I don't know, let's 20 seconds. That's it. No judgment on how you're breathing. All you have to do is pay attention. Close your eyes, pay attention to the way you're breathing. Big, little, doesn't matter. So I'll get the timer. I'm going to do it with you. Well, I can't keep my eyes. Yeah. I'll just try it. So everybody just close your eyes, breathe, however you want to breathe. That's it. You just meditated, right? And what's really interesting is my wife is talking. She's doing her job in the other room. So I heard her a little bit. I heard a neighbor start to walk. That's okay. Like this isn't about getting into this. People think that you have to get into this like Om state. Don't worry about that. Even just noticing, oh, wow, my wife was talking in the other room. Oh, and you might have heard too. I don't know if it came to the mic. Notice it. Go back to the breathing. And that practice in and of itself is a wonderful way to practice. Oh, I just noticed myself self-thinking. Zen meditation, for example, is not about clearing your mind. I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have. It's about being completely empty and, and Aum. By the way, you don't Aum in Zen. That's more of a Hindu practice in some Buddhist schools. Anyways, but what it is like, notice that you thought. And I don't want to get into a meditation session. Maybe we'll do that in the next couple of weeks. But it's just notice the thought, and then you're going to think about something. I do this all the time. Oh, I got to finish that article. Oh, here's a great idea for it. Oh crap, I'm thinking about that article. Go to the breath, right? Yeah. So that's a wonderful tool. And the second tool is simply breathing, and we did that in this meditation practice. But even just at any point, pausing and go to your breath. There's a reason that the breath, whether it's in Zen, Eastern philosophy, Western religion, whatever, there's a lot of focus on breathing. And one of the reasons why is because it is both autonomic, meaning we don't have to think about it, and conscious, meaning I can, have a deep breath or stop breathing, whatever it might be. We have both control over it, and it impacts, or it's automatic and unconscious. So it's interesting. It's an interesting bridge there between those two spheres. So even just every once in a while, just pausing, and it's not even about taking a deep breath, but just come back to it. In that moment, if I'm focused on my breathing, I can't focus on anything else. I have to be right here, right now. A wonderful window into the now. So those are two. The third one is put a reminder on your phone once or twice a day, and hopefully put a nice little ringer on it. I actually do have a gong that sound that I put on my phone is like dong. It's what I use for my messages. I was like, what's going on? But just put this reminder, and just put the reminder being pay attention. So we can use our phones for good, right? So you're going through your day, boom, you're in a meeting, you're having a conversation, you're having a Zoom call, you're working on a project, boom, be mindful, pay attention. Breathe, maybe it's just breathe, but use it to kind of be the reminder to get yourself back to focus. So that's the third. And the fourth, and this might be good for some of you might not like it as much, but journaling is also something that has been very valuable for me. I wanted to share that. It's not about, journaling is not as so much for the immediate mindfulness, but one of the things that I've used journaling for, and I've done it, gosh, almost 20 years now, is daily or regular journaling. What it does is it starts to let you see the patterns in your life. So for example, I mentioned yesterday, my relationships before I met my wife, some of the patterns that I started to, go back and, I'd break up with someone, break up with a woman, and I'd go, okay, let me go see what happened at the end of my last break. And I'm like, oh, wow, my thinking there's some patterns here. You can also see, and I saw this in my business too, like some spirals I used to go into, like, when I was totally bummed out, or like, oh, this will never work, or, when you start a business out, the mental game is important. So I started to go, oh, here's some patterns. And then when I was practicing mindfulness in the day, I'd be like, oh, wow, right now it's 2:00 and I'm really bummed out, and I'm a little scared for the future. And usually that means I would just sit here and surf social media for a while, or I would do nothing. I can do something different with it. And that's that freedom, that ability to make the choice is really what we're looking for from our mindfulness practice there. So those are, this was a little longer than I thought it would be, but hopefully you got something from it. I appreciate everybody taking the time. Again, to all of you who are here live, thank you. To everybody who's watching the recordings, I really appreciate you taking a little time to share with me. I'm going to keep doing this. We do not know. I'm recording this on April 16th. We don't know when the shelter in place orders will be lifted, when it's going to be safe to go back outside and not have social distancing. So as long as I'm stuck here, I'm going to keep doing series like these every week, 11:30 Central. If you found these valuable, one thing that could really help me out, please make sure you're sharing it with your friends. If you could post it to your network on LinkedIn, that would be fantastic. All the recordings are on YouTube. If you could share those, this actually helps me a lot, lets people know that even though, we can't do speaking live, if anybody needs a speaker for their organization, for their sales team, we can do virtual stuff. I'd appreciate that. And next week's sessions, by the way, we're going to do a new series. We do a new series every week. I don't know the exact title, but it's basically 5 non-business authors that business people need to know. So I'm going to look at 5 authors. Most of them have written multiple books that have been valuable to me. They're not sales books. I'm not looking at sales books. There's a lot of great ones out there, but I'm really looking at some stuff from psychology, economics, all kinds of diverse categories of, and topics that have been really useful to me in the business world, right? And so it's gonna be kind of fun. I'm a big nerd, so I'm gonna dive into that, and then we're gonna do some more sessions, of course, over the next couple of weeks. If there's topics, whether it's something about LinkedIn, online networking, sales, branding, professional development. Let me know what you guys are looking for, because that's going to help me guide the topics for the next couple of weeks. And that's all I got. As I finish up, again, stay home. If you can't stay home, stay safe, and say thank you to all the people who are continuing to make our economy run. You don't have the opportunity to stay home and watch videos, whether that be the person working at the grocery store, the cashier at the Walgreens, the delivery people, the mailman, the postman, the people who are driving the buses, who are running the trains, who are also making sure our food supply keeps coming to us. All those people are amazing. They're just as scared as we are. And, of course, also the front line, the nurses, the doctors, all the healthcare workers. So make sure you're sharing your appreciation with them. And as always, be patient, be kind, take care of one another. Bye.